just ahead on CTV News.
It's day 30 of the government shutdown, and Governor Wes Moore has declared a state of emergency. I'm Jonathan Hunter. I'll explain coming up.
And find out how PGCPS is doing its part to keep students fed during the shutdown. Plus,
it's a ghost town, and it's not because of Halloween. I'm Noah James, and just ahead, how a local attraction will go eerily quiet this weekend.
These stories and more on CTV News, starting now.
Good evening. This is CTV News for October 30th. I'm Anaya Falcon.
And I'm Michaela Newton. Thanks so much for joining us. Well, Governor Wes Moore has declared a state of emergency. This is in response to hundreds of thousands of Marylanders who in 2 days will no longer be able to use their SNAP benefits.
CTV's Jonathan Hunter has more on the governor's decision.
With 680,000 Marylanders set to lose their SNAP benefits on Saturday, the governor says he had to make swift decisions to ensure people in the state do not go hungry. The governor stopped by the Anne Arundel County Food Bank to help volunteers sort through some of the food to be distributed, but the main reason why the governor came was to declare a state of emergency. $10 million will be going to food banks all across the state.
These funds will go to hundreds of institutions with experience distributing food at the regional level, and we are also providing support to local nonprofits, faith-based organizations, food kitchens, farmers markets, school pantries, and also mobile food units.
The governor believes this was the right move because many of the SNAP recipients in Maryland are children and senior citizens.
We're talking about 120,000 older adults, 270,000 children, and 130,000 Marylanders with disabilities. This is real.
Over the last few weeks, Governor Moore said he initially didn't want to use state funds for SNAP because he wants to be fiscally responsible, and that's why he's not tapping into the state's rainy day fund.
Well, I think that we have shown that not only are we going to make sure that we're protecting and taking care of our people, but that also we're going to ensure that there is a real measure of fiscal discipline when it comes to how Maryland is going to manage its finances.
The USDA has roughly $6 billion in the contingency fund, but President Donald Trump has made it clear he will not release those funds for SNAP.
The money is there. They are choosing not to allocate it. The money has been appropriated. They are choosing not to distribute it.
The government shutdown has lasted for a month now, with several federal workers not being paid. The governor has a message for the president.
My message to you is this: stop this shutdown now.
The governor made it clear that the amount of money he is giving the food banks will not completely cover what SNAP would, but he says he will evaluate the situation as the government shutdown continues. In Anne Arundel County, I'm Jonathan Hunter for CTV News.
Thanks, Jonathan, for that report. Several states, including Maryland, have sued President Trump over his decision to halt the SNAP funding.
And Prince George's County Public Schools has expanded access to nutritious meals for students through a new after-school hot supper program. The program offers students a hot, balanced meal after school, a change from the standard cold bag meals that had become repetitive for many. Schools with a free and reduced price meals rate of 50% or higher and that have at least 75 students enrolled in after-school programs are eligible to participate. And the Shutdown Student Loans for Feds Act, legislation introduced by Senator Also Brooks, Van Hollen, and Congresswoman Elfreth, would require the Department of Education to pause student loan payments for federal workers, including federal contractors and military personnel, in the event of a federal government shutdown lasting longer than 2 weeks. This one has lasted 30 days. If passed, this legislation would take immediate effect for the current shutdown.
And the Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union is offering financial relief for members impacted by the federal shutdown. Through 2 programs, the union will be providing government shutdown loans and payment deferrals on existing loans. These shutdown loans will be up by to $5,000, and the deferrals will allow members to skip 2 months of payments. The programs will be available until the shutdown ends, and members can apply for either program by visiting the website on your screen. And the Qualified Data Task Force community meeting on this past Saturday turned into an uproar. I spoke with task force and county council members, and they shared their reaction to the community's passionate response.
I was frankly disgusted and disappointed by some of the behavior that I saw there.
The Qualified Data Center Task Force co-chair is talking about what he witnessed at their community meeting last Saturday, when hundreds of community members turned their meeting upside down.
I watched a member of the community who is a member of a labor union who couldn't even complete a sentence. So it wasn't the case that everyone was able to give their testimony freely and respectfully, no.
In response to Burrow's comments, one of his fellow task force members cited the Martin Luther King quote, "A riot is the language of the unheard."
People wanted to be heard in that meeting, and initially they were denied the opportunity to be heard, and they stood up for themselves so that they could be heard. And unfortunately, it wasn't the way that the counselors wanted to have them have their voice heard, but it was an effective way.
We elect these people into office, right? Laws can be changed, policies can be changed, but if they're not listening, which they often absolutely do not, as we've seen, then the people are the ones throughout history, all over the world, that have pressured any of the changes that we have today.
Burrows says there's a lot of misinformation circulating about data centers, and some of the community's response on Saturday was just chaos for chaos' sake.
It's like, do you want the real information? It's a question that I have. I'm unclear.
On the misinformation front, task force member Walla Begay says she agrees.
So I do think post-task force, it will be good for us to have maybe a community meeting where people are informed instead of it just being comments.
But community members say they are informed and are aware of the negative health, economic, and environmental impacts of data centers.
I'm trusting that this task force will weigh all of those things and come up with recommendations that take into account, of course, the sentiments of the community and all of the other information that we have.
And there will be no more Qualified Data Center Task Force community meetings. The task force is working on finalizing their recommendations, as they must be submitted to the County Council by November 30th. And Six Flags is wrapping up operations with one final hurrah.
That's right. This weekend marks the last time one of Prince George's best attractions will be open. Here's CTV's Noel James with more.
After more than 50 years of laughs, screams, and thrills, this Sunday marks the end of an era for a Prince George's staple. Six Flags is gearing up for its last weekend in operation, a truly bittersweet moment because of memories, exciting rides, and for the county, the economic boom it generated. The decision came months ago, with the company saying the location was not, quote, a strategic fit for their long-term growth plan. Park visitors call the closure devastating.
I'm a little upset because now I'm thinking about what I'm going to do for the summer. Those were my summer plans. Experts say redeveloping a 500-acre amusement park is not easy. In Ohio, it took years of zoning changes and developer deals. In New Orleans, the former Six Flags site sat empty for almost 2 decades. Here's what the county executive said when we first found out about the closures.
Six Flags is a great site. We're sorry and sad to see Six Flags go. So we're really excited about the opportunity to really reimagine the Six Flags site and, turn that into something that is more year-round uses and then also attract people with families as well as adults.
Now, this is the latest hit to economic development in the county. Prince George's also recently lost contracts with the Commanders and the FBI headquarters. Six Flags will shut down permanently this Sunday, November 2nd. In Bowie, I'm Noel James for CTV News.
And you're watching CTV News. I'm Anaya Falcon.
And I'm Michaela Newton. Coming up, The Prince George's County Planning Board is facing a troubling obstacle.
After the break, find out how it may affect county residents. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Leland Melvin, and I traveled to space twice as a NASA astronaut. Space technologies help protect our precious Earth. Space helps us monitor changes in carbon emissions, track the pace of climate change. It even helps us fight natural disasters. Make sure that you get out to your local science museum or go to spaceforall.us to explore and learn about space and science. Space is for all.
Welcome back. An unexpected roadblock has hit the Prince George's Planning Board, sending one of the county's most powerful commissions to a standstill. Chairman Darrell Barnes of the Prince George's County Planning Board announced this morning that the Planning Board will not hold any more meetings for the unforeseeable future. The reason is because the board will no longer have enough members to conduct a quorum. Currently, the board has 3 members. However, Commissioner Shawnice Washington is leaving the board at the end of the week. Washington's departure will now leave 3 vacancies on the board. Barnes says, quote, anytime the planning board proceeds to stop, development applications can no longer be approved.
The chairman and his colleagues will not have quorum moving forward. And so what that means is that the code requires for our chairman to have a process where certain plan processes have to move up to him for consideration. And so what that means moving forward is that the planning department will continue to do our part to follow the code. We'll reach out to applicants and our partner agencies as future developments become available.
So it impacts the permitting process in an aspect of working, for our standpoint, we'll be working with a lot of the applicants moving forward on getting their cases through that process as much as possible. However, we will work with them on the next steps on each stage of that process to get them there.
What will need to happen next is that the county executive will need to nominate people to fill those vacant seats. Once the county council approves those nominations, the planning board will be able to hold their meetings again. CTV News has reached out to the county executive's office and the county council for a response and has yet to hear back.
The city of Laurel is gearing up for its election day. Current council members for Ward 1 and 2 are running to keep their seats with no challengers. Former council member Rencies D. Smith is challenging Christine Johnson for Laurel's 1 at-large council seat. Early voting begins Saturday, November 1st, and polls will be open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. On Election Day, November 4th, polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. But for additional information on the general election, visit cityoflaurel.org.
And the spouse of a Laurel City Council member is accused of taking campaign signs from both private and public properties. Authorities say the person allegedly pulled the signs without permission and drove off with them, raising questions about fair campaigning and election integrity. The council member whose spouse is involved hasn't commented publicly. Residents say the incident has stirred frustration over how political signs are handled and the trust voters place in local leaders. We'll keep you updated as investigators release more details and determine whether charges will be filed. And a group is working to make a real change to the Blue Line Corridor, an area that has been historically underdeveloped. The Blue Line Corridor Coalition launched yesterday, and the communities that encompass the corridor include Seat Pleasant, Capitol Heights, and Fairmount Heights. The public-private partnership looks to create lasting transformative change to the corridor, while also keeping the community involved in the process.
I think about this moment as a generational moment, right? With so much happening in our country and our region, it's easy to feel like we don't have any power to change. But LISC believes, and our history shows, that when neighbors come together with elected officials and small businesses and developers, we can push forward the type of change that we want to see.
We really want to build around those projects with the community, not something for them, but with them. And I think that it's important that we involve community at every step. And that's the important part of what the Blue Line Coalition has been doing. They've been out talking to community members about what they'd like to see.
And Wells Fargo gave out a $170,000 grant to help support the mission of the Blue Line Corridor Coalition.
Well, ICE arrests are rising under the Trump administration, and now students at the University of Maryland are pushing back. A student group called the Young Democratic Socialists of America is leading a campaign to make UMD a sanctuary campus, pledging not to cooperate with immigration enforcement, and to protect undocumented students. According to the Diamondbacks, students say they want UMD to be a safe space, but some faculty warn that declaring sanctuary status could risk federal funding. The group plans to deliver its petition soon and hopes to reach 4,000 signatures before then. Also at the University of Maryland, the Student Government Association is taking a stand on housing rights. The SGA just passed a resolution backing a proposed College Park ordinance that would stop landlords from pressuring tenants to re-sign their leases too early. The measure, passed almost unanimously, supports a rule that would ban landlords from asking tenants to renew until 6 months before their lease ends. A public hearing on the proposal is set for November 12th, when students plan to share their stories directly with the City Council.
And still to come on CTV News, is political talk and the hustle and bustle of everyday life taking a toll on you?
Well, an event this weekend is helping women get their mental health in check. Event speaker and delegate Andrea Fletcher Harrison is stopping by the CTV studios to discuss the event. We'll be right back.
Vision loss is not something that you feel until it happens.
Most people lose their vision from diseases like macular degeneration and glaucoma, not at birth.
With macular degeneration, you lose your central vision.
You have a blind spot right in the center of your face, so I can't actually see your face.
So even that little circle in which I could see became a big blur.
I was 65 when I first was diagnosed with glaucoma.
There were no symptoms. I had no headaches.
3 million Americans have glaucoma, and half don't even know it.
11 million people in the United States have macular degeneration.
You lose mobility, independence, changes your entire life.
So many eye disorders can be treated if caught early.
My husband tells me that I have beautiful brown eyes, and I don't want to lose that.
Make a plan today to get your eyes checked.
Visit brightfocus.org to learn more.
Diversity is in our nature. It is in nature, too. Biodiversity. It connects us and sustains us. But nature's biodiversity is at risk more than ever before, and the future of all life is in our hands. So what will you do? Love it or lose it?
It is so hot out today, but I'm about to get this hike in, and I just had to show you the view. Beautiful.
Yo, you should come out here. We came outside to unwind.
Oh, wow.
Close the laptop. Transmission.
We outside. Come find us.
Welcome back. With everything going on in the world right now, it can be pretty easy for anyone to become overwhelmed, but especially for women. From work to carpool lines to hectic grocery stores to trying to make time for yourself, these daily tasks can lead to a mountain of stress.
That's right. And to help everyday women manage all the noise, uncontrollable changes, and dealing with anxiety and/or depression, joining us today to talk about her event is the event organizer, Tanya Wells. Thank you so much for joining us, Tanya.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we're going to just jump right in. So many Maryland families are feeling anxious and uncertain. Yes. So tell us, how does this event address the stress people are dealing with?
So we realized that just working in mental health and wellness, and we own Bodyworks Aesthetics, which is a non-invasive med spa, but we realized that with the weight gain, why? Because there's so many changes that we can't deal with. We don't know how to deal with them, and how people manage that stress has been one of the chief issues for weight gain that ultimately leads to disease. So a lot of times we had noticed that our clients might drink or they might eat too much, not because they were hungry, but simply because they were either bored or they needed something to get them away from the thing that stressed them out. So we thought, let's go ahead and start partnering with, politicians, with folks that own mental health facilities to help all of us, especially, us women, deal with the things that we can't change, the things that we can change, and also know when anxiety or depression is coming on. A lot of times it doesn't come up the way that you think. We always think someone's in the corner, burying their head, and sometimes it's absolutely not that. You go to work every day with folks and don't realize that they are in depression because they handle it differently. But when they go home, they check out.
Now tell us a little bit about this event and what are some of the resources that you all are providing to people who really need it?
Absolutely. So we're bringing in Andrea Fletcher Harrison. She is our delegate. We wanted her to come in, especially because right now we all know that there's a lot of political noise. One thing that we love working with her over the years is that she's been a real big advocate about health and wellness and mental health and wellness and taking care of yourself from the inside out. So we thought, what better person to talk about the things that we know that people are dealing with. They're dealing with the television and all the noise that that's, bringing. And then also we brought in Nakia Wade. Now she owns her own mental and health wellness clinic. So she's coming in as a therapist to talk to us about identifying anxiety, identifying the types of depression before you run to a pill, before you go to something that's not as healthy. What are some other ways that you can do things to alleviate those? And then with myself, my business partner, Rotunda Mobley, because we live all things health and wellness, we're always advocates about getting outside, get moving, and doing things to help yourself clear all those bad thoughts and definitely make changes with how you eat, how you manage those different things that are happening, and just go outside and go walking before you sit and take a pill or before you pick up, an alcoholic beverage. We find that those things, once you get busy and you're out and you get some air and you're not listening to, the news and things like that, you come back in and you got a different and maybe a better fresh perspective on the thing that might have been seemingly so large. But once you get in the house, you go, it's not that big because I can't change it, but I can change how I react to it. And that's the thing that we want to be able to leverage, and we knew that we couldn't do it by ourselves. So we thought, let's go ahead and bring this to the masses with folks like yourselves, with Andrea and with Nakia. That way we have, the doctor, we have the politician that says, yes, we know it's a lot of negative noise, but you also have the power to deal with it.
So what are some quick signs that you can give us of anxiety and depression that people should look out for their loved ones?
Funny enough, if you see folks that, this might sound crazy, if they spend too much time, I always call it squirreling around in a central train of thought. I think a lot of times now we always hear about politics. Yes, we all do talk about it, but if you have someone that it's almost consuming, every time you see him or her, that's all that they seem to be concerned with. Those are different signs that you want to just make sure that, yes, healthy, we want to make sure that we're all paying attention, but we don't want these things to consume us. So things like that, not being participatory in family events or going out, a lot of times, just sometimes talking to folks if they seem a little, reluctant, don't want to participate, don't talk a lot. A lot of folks are lonely and they have nothing but the TV and all that negative. So just if you notice that folks aren't really, talking as much, just come over and just ask them how they're doing. You'd be surprised how many people are by themselves. The kids are grown, the family members are gone off, and they're just simply stuck in their thoughts.
Okay, lastly, tell us a little bit more about where we can find, tickets for the event. Where is it going to be held?
So the great thing about us being us is this is free. So we're offering this. We're actually out here right across from Fairwood. It's 12200 Annapolis Road, Suite 117A. That's Glendale, Maryland. So we're buoy bound. And again, it's Bodyworks Aesthetics Med Spa. You can look us up online at bodyworksmedspa.com or definitely on Instagram at bodyworksmedspa_buoy. And all the information is there. And we have several events coming up. We just concluded one on saving your own life without medicine. So we had speakers talk to folks about things they can do to change their lives. So we're always doing these things, and they're free of charge. That's our way of giving back.
Perfect. Ms. Wells, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. For more information on this event or to RSVP, call or text 202-868-0905. All right, don't move. Simon Buggs is here with our Thursday sports page.
That's right. What's going on today, Simon?
Hey, sports fans, stay right there for your Thursday sports page, guys, because I have some exciting high school playoff volleyball highlights for you. Don't move.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
What's going on, everybody? I've got a great sports page for you all today. We begin with some high school volleyball playoff highlights as the Bladensburg Lady Mustangs took the court for a home game against Duval. Now, Duval took down Bladensburg in the first set, but in the second set, the Lady Mustangs did start off with an 8-5 lead over Duval. But mistakes from the team, like not hitting the ball back over the net, and this sweet ace from this Lady Tiger helped Duval close the gap as the score was tied at 12 all at one point. The Lady Tigers eventually did take the lead, but Blade wasn't far behind as this nice hit on the ball by number 2 to get it back over the net, and number 7 showing off her serving skills with this ace kept Duval's lead small. But later on, it was game point for Duval as the Lady Tigers needed one more point to win the second set. And number 7 came through for her team with this bump after Blade served, and her team took down the Mustangs in the second set, 25-21. Now, Bladensburg started the third set off well, as at one point the Lady Mustangs were up 11-7 on Duval, and if the Lady Mustangs could keep their lead, Blade will only be down 2-1 on Duval. But slowly and surely, Blade's lead got smaller and smaller to the point where Duval not only tied the game, but was able to build a lead of their own, being up 16-12 at one point. And fast forward to later on, the Lady Tigers needed just 2 more points to not only win the set, but also the match as well. And number 12 for Duval came through for her team, scoring the last 2 points to win the set, as well as the match 3-0 to punch their tickets to the next round of the playoffs. Congratulations, ladies, and good luck moving forward. Moving on to some news from the gridiron, the Turk football team is looking to end their losing streak this coming weekend when they face off against Indiana. The Hoosiers have had a great season so far as they are currently undefeated and are in first place in the Big Ten. And if Maryland wants to have a shot at coming away with the dub, they're going to have to slow down their opponent's high-powered offense.
You know, the quarterback is as advertised. You know, he's one of those guys that throws it very accurately. He's efficient. As he goes, they go. Obviously, the rushing attack, they got a guy we're very familiar with, Roman Hemby. I think is leading them in rushing. They got 2 500-yard rushers. They got a 300-yard rusher behind them. You look at the receiving corps, veteran receivers. Surratt, a guy from right down the road, went to St. Francis, transferred up to JMU, and then goes with his coach to Indiana and is having a big year along with Cooper. So really have done a good job on the offensive side.
Kickoff is on Saturday at 3:30. And wrapping up sports, it was recently announced that Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin has been ruled out for the team's game against the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday. This comes after the All-Pro re-injured his quad in the team's game against the Kansas City Chiefs this past Monday. This quad injury has sidelined the 2-time Pro Bowler for much of the year, as this will be his 5th game he will miss this season. And that wraps up your Thursday sports page. Simon Buggs, CTV Sports.
All right, thanks, Simon. Let's get a look at our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, it'll be mostly cloudy with wind gusts of up to 20 miles per hour. Tomorrow, for Halloween, it's going to be sunny and breezy. It'll be 58 degrees with a low of 43 with wind gusts as high as 39 miles per hour. Saturday will be 60 degrees and sunny. It's also daylight savings, so don't forget to set your clocks back 1 hour. Sunday, we'll have another sunny day with a high of 60 and a low of 41.
And for our community calendar, tomorrow afternoon, the Seat Pleasant Police Department is hosting a spooktacular trunk or treat for the whole family to enjoy. This year's event will be bigger than ever, now featuring hay rides, a scariest costume contest, and sack races. This event starts at 6 p.m. at Goodwin Park. For more information, contact Officer Griffith at 240-585-0600.
That wraps up CTV News for now. Thanks so much for joining us.
Have a happy Halloween, and we'll see you again on Monday. Have a good night.